We don't need a bunch of cats in here looking in the mirror. Do I look good? I got my extra bands on. I got my other shoes on. We need more dogs.
And welcome back to the latest and greatest episode of the 7 Points Podcast. My name is Jayton May, joined as always by my co-host, Quentin Crisco, as we start our division breakdowns where we go through all 8 divisions in the NFL, break them down team by team, let you know what we like, what we don't like, talk some win totals, maybe some future MVP odds that we like, just going through it all, breaking it all down, and starting out with the NFC South today.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
We should have seen if we could get John Gruden on to talk him.
He's going to be the next coach of the Buccaneers, I think.
He just might be the way he's playing it.
Yeah. Coached 4 different times for 2 different teams.
Yeah. Impressive rates there. And honestly, I mean, Jayden, what do you think of Todd Bowles?
He's Todd Bowles?
He is Todd Bowles. That is a fact.
I don't know if I have much of an opinion on Todd Bowles. I think he's a good coach. I think they're going to go out there. They're going to win games. I don't know if they're good enough to compete for a Super Bowl, but if you're a 11 to 12 to 13 win team that maybe sneaks into the 2 seed, I don't know if I want to play them on Wild Card Weekend.
Who do you think the best head coach is in this division, the NFC South?
Who's the Panthers head coach?
That would be
the guy from Seattle, right?
Dave Canales. Yeah, Seattle and Tampa. He was in Tampa as an OC for a year.
Maybe is it Todd Bowles? I don't know. It's not.
Is it? I mean, where I was going with that, I was going to ask, like, if you had a Matt LaFleur in there, if you had a Kevin O'Connell, are they a Super Bowl contender? But there's no coach like that in this division unless Dave Canales becomes that guy, you know?
Yeah, they had Liam Cohen.
Yeah.
As the OC. I think losing him hurts
Dave
a lot.
Canales is OC 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think Liam Cohen's a better coach. But
Duval.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, Todd Bowles might be the best coach in this division, but it's hard to win as a defensive head coach these days.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I see this roster and I'm like, man, they have so much talent. And I think that he gets more out of his defensive backs than he has in talent, which is, that's his calling card. And that makes sense. And I think that all tracks. But like, if he was a coach who get a little more out of the offensive end, I can't help but wonder if this team would do a little better than it does. And that could be idealism, of you sit there and say you don't throw out a good coach just because he's not a great coach.
Yeah.
I don't know. I ended up in a weird spot with that, but I just can't help but think it and wonder it.
Yeah. Well, when you look at this roster on the defensive side of the ball, what sticks out to you immediately?
Vita Vea and Kalijah Kancey with Yahya Diaby and Hassan Reddick. I mean, that is...
Yeah, I was going to say defensive line.
Handle. And Hassan Reddick isn't what he was, I don't think. Like, I went and looked at... I went
How did he play last year? Or did he play last year?
He played with the Jets, and he only played the back half of the year. And
yeah, because he had that contract, like, that... Because I don't... Because I remember him not playing at the beginning of the season, but I don't remember him getting on the field. But the Jets are also a dumpster fire.
Yeah, I mean, so that's what makes it tough because I went to NFL Plus and I just looked up like Hassan Reddick 3rd and long pass rush snaps, and there wasn't a lot to really like there. Like but at the same time, the Jets were in a complete dumpster fire by the time he started playing. So it's kind of like, how much what positions was he put in to really do well? Like, when I think Todd Bowles going to get more out of him than the Jets did, I guess is really what I'm trying to say, because he likes to move guys around so much and get so varied with his fronts, and that's where Reddick really wins for you.
And Vita Vea is just an absolute monster on the inside.
Vita Vea is different. He's just a different football player than almost anyone in the league right now. Him and like Dexter Lawrence are the two that are just like in their own realm of nose tackle, where it's like these guys are so explosive and such different athletes at the point of attack that like there's no
And just
real way to stop them.
huge body guys.
Yeah. And Kalijah Cansey has a bad number here. Some of that roots to his run defense. I think he did have a bit down with sophomore year. But you know what? You give me third down and you tell me I have Kalijah Cansey at 3-tech or 5-tech, I'm licking my chops. I'm excited. That dude can get after the passer. I don't think he can play run defense, but I don't really care because that's not what I have him there for.
Yeah, and if we're talking about all the teams in the division right now, I would probably if you give me week 18, one of these teams has to win the division. I'm taking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Buccaneers are a clear front runner to win this division. It's 5 years, 5 playoff appearances, 4 division titles in the last 5 years, 51-33 record. Like, I mean, and they have done such a nice job of restocking this team since the the year that Tom Brady went there when they already had a lot of guys.
It really felt like they sold out for the Super Bowl and they got their Super Bowl. And then you thought, okay, well, there goes that. It's gonna be 3 to 5 years before they're back. I mean, they go and get a Baker Mayfield that bounced around after being traded from the Browns. He comes in immediately, lifts up this entire team. Really, they're able to hold on to Godwin and Evans like they have. They rebuild that offensive line. I mean, they were kind of building it. I mean, they got Tristan Wirfs. He protected Tom Brady as a rookie, but I mean, he's been a phenomenal left tackle. They go out, they get Bucky Irving last year in the draft, absolutely stud running back, crazy talent. And then this year, I loved the Emeka Egbuka pick. I mean, I know you know how I felt about him. I thought he was one of the better receivers in this draft. I thought he was being a little overlooked going into the draft. I loved it. Maybe not loved it at 19, but I mean, I love the player and getting to learn behind guys like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. I mean, it kind of feels like what Seattle did whenever they took JS in with Lockett and DK there. I feel like this guy could be a number 1 receiver for him, or at least number 1 target. Maybe not be that true X or whatever, but I mean, definitely number 1 target for Baker Mayfield 2 to 3 years down the road. So, yeah, I love how they've been restocking this team, reloading year after year too in the draft, and keeping key pieces. Levante David on the back end of his career now, just absolute stud linebacker, tackling machine, doesn't miss time. A lot to like about this team.
Yeah, well, on the Egbuka note, like I was a little lower on him than you and then some other people out there as well. When I watched his tape, I just felt like I saw a number 2 to number 3 option in the NFL, but the landing spot here is ideal for him. Like I don't think there's many teams that were better landing spot for him than Tampa.
So I think his situation in college, obviously, basically wide receiver U. I mean, just stud talent all over the field. But I mean, I always thought he was able to shine through, even with all the star talent that he had, and then falling into a situation like this to where he continues to be kind of like that third option and be able to build into his role in this offense and find his footing and everything. Perfect fit.
Yeah, and I mean, I really like the way it builds on their depth chart at this point because, like, we're talking about Jalen McMillan is your wide receiver 4 now. This dude had like 8-9 touchdowns last year.
Oh, crazy good. Crazy good down the stretch.
Am I exaggerating that? Was it that many? I thought there was a stretch there where it was just like he was catching touchdowns every week.
He won a lot of people fantasy championships.
Yeah, let's see what his actual number was here. Yeah, 8 touchdowns on 461 yards. Like he looked like a really good football player for them last year, and like a guy who could probably do a bit more than just a slot receiver, which is what I thought he was more of coming out of Washington. So you have that guy coming up who's more the outside guy, plus Egbuka in the slot, like on top of Mike Evans and Chris Godwin still there. Cade Otton being a solid weapon in the tight end room, like this offense is really loaded up, and I can't overstate how impressed I am with their ability to continue to roll forward this offensive line and rebuild it. Like losing Alex Kappa, losing Ali Marpet, losing Ryan Jensen, Donovan Jackson. They've lost
Yeah.
a lot of high quality starters over the last 5 years. And, they drafted Graham Barton. They drafted Cody Mock. They drafted Luke Gadecki. Luke Gadecki, a guy who I was pretty hard on 2 years ago when we did this series, saying, I know he can pass protect. I don't think he can run block for his life. And he has worked on it really hard over the course of his NFL career. He's become a pretty solid run blocker at this point.
Yeah.
On top of your blue chip Tristan Wirfs, arguably the best offensive tackle in the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot to like about this team. I mean, it's going to come down to what Baker Mayfield do you get?
It's every week. It comes down to what Baker Mayfield you get, right? I mean, granted, I think Baker is a top 10 quarterback in this league. I think he's a guy who can carry your team to a playoff win.
Yeah, he puts himself in some bad situations sometimes. I mean, puts his body on the line, which, I mean, you don't really want to see. I mean, they talk about it with Lamar. They talk about it with Josh Allen. They talk about it with some of the more mobile quarterbacks, and Baker does it as a guy running a 4.9, 4.8 out there.
Yeah, he does some crazy stuff out there, man. Like excuse me. I pulled video for all these so that when I cut them up, I can, drop some videos in to like these 30-minute segments for each player. It was like the amount of just like, there were a handful of Baker Mayfield just like, holy crap, what are you doing? And it works out. Like in the tape that I found, that's just like, he's just a fun dude to watch. And, I was a Baker hater for years.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the Texas Tech days, because of the him going to Oklahoma and making all the noise about it. It wasn't just leaving; it was leaving with a lot of noise. But you know what? Baker's grown on me over the last few years, man. He's just a fun football player to watch, and I've learned to love Baker Mayfield ever since his younger days.
Yeah, I'm a Baker fan for sure. I mean, I kind of jumped on the wagon a little bit earlier. Basically, as soon as he got the raw deal in Cleveland, I was like, "This is the Baker Mayfield you want to invest in right now."
Yeah, and they do have one last name on offense I got to mention, Payne Durham. I'm not going to have any tape for him in the breakdown, but he has one of the greatest tight end names ever in Payne Durham for a blocking tight end. That is a blocking tight end if I've ever heard it. I loved him coming out of Purdue, even though it was like this guy's probably a 4th or 5th round pick. Like, he's my dude.
Yeah. No, yeah, with a name like that, yeah, I mean, even kind of, I mean, we talked about Jalen McMillan, but I mean, where are we 8-9 years into Sterling Shepard's career? I mean, he can still go out there and probably get you a 7-catch game if somebody goes down for 80 to 100 yards. I mean,
he had a bit of a revival last year.
Yeah. So I mean, I like the team. I like the depth. I like the division they play in. As far as, I mean, if you're looking at opportunities to make a playoff run, I mean, I wouldn't be too worried about a few teams in this division if I'm Tampa. So no, I like the way they're set up.
Yeah, and I mean, we mentioned Bucky Irving. I love Bucky Irving. I'm as big a Bucky Irving fan as there is. But this running back room doesn't stop at Bucky Irving. Rashad White had 9 touchdowns last year. Sean Tucker, whenever he touched the ball, seemed to do something good.
Yeah.
And Trey Palmer was a good player at wide receiver for them too. Like the depth on this offense is really impressive. I don't love their O-line depth, but when your starting 5 are this talented and this versatile, I think you can make it work no matter what. I do wish they had a better 6 offensive linemen, though.
Yeah, O-line depth is so hard in the NFL, too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
you got to draft them and like have them stuck on rookie contracts. It's the only way to really get O-line depth.
Be able to hold on to them. Yeah, exactly. But, hard to – if you had to find a weakness on this team, what would it be?
It's probably, man, that's tough. There aren't many. It's probably in like run stuffing defensive tackles.
Yeah.
Which Vita Vea, obviously is an outstanding run stuffing defensive tackle. But I think outside of that, they struggle a little bit within. They can be susceptible to kind of getting gashed in the run game at the line of scrimmage at times. Some of that is just the attacking style defense that Todd Bowles runs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No. Yeah. I like this team. You look at this team. You look at the defense. I mean, we've talked about that defensive line. Talked about the linebackers.
Hey, on the defensive line, just a second. Yaya Diaby might be the most underrated edge rusher in the NFL right now. This dude is an animal. And, people need to watch out for him next year. He didn't get a lot of sacks this year. I think he only had 3. But his pressers and his pass rush win rate both point to a guy who's going to break out in a big way. He won more than he actually got sacks last year. And I think that's gonna show out this year. I'm really excited to see him play.
Yeah, and then we look at the defensive back room. I mean, they always have good defensive back play. You talked about it under Todd Bowles. Antoine Winfield, still one of the better DBs in the league right now. And Jamel Dean played awesome for him last year. And you look at some of the receivers in the division, and outside of Atlanta, I mean, I think they'll have the edge against both New Orleans and Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, I think New Orleans is always going to be a tough on the receiver front, just because Olave, if he's healthy, is really freaking good.
Well, who's throwing Olave the ball?
That's the thing, though. I'm just talking the receiver front.
Yeah.
And then, Carolina, I like some of what they're doing there, but there's still a lot of prove it that needs to happen there for it to all for Tampa. Tampa's defense backs really get worried about it. Mm-hmm. I'm really impressed with the way that they've developed Zion McCollum here. He's a guy who prior to last year had barely played, but coming out of UTSA, I believe, was just an athletic freak, just a complete anomaly. And they were able to coach him up with time on the bench, and was able to jump in the starting lineup last year and be a solid football player. Might be able to get better in year 2 of starting, actually his 3rd or 4th year in the league, I believe, but year 2 of actually seeing the field. And Tyke Smith, he stepped in at their nickel corner spot last year, / kind of a safety role sometimes. And, out of that Georgia defense, he was the star defender, the star defensive spot in the Georgia defense.
Yeah.
And he stepped in and no problem handled the NFL. And he's probably a guy who's just going to get better with age at this point because he knows how to play the position. And Christian Etienne has some of the most fun highlights I've ever seen. There was a play, I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago from Etienne. There was a play where against the Vikings, Justin Jefferson is catching a football at the 1 yard line, about to go in the end zone. And Christian Etienne just runs up to him, rips the football out of Justin Jefferson's hands and starts running it might not have been Jefferson. It might have been Jordan Addison, but he rips it out of his hands and starts running the other way. And then Jefferson comes in and lays him out. But it was just did he really just do that? He just took the football away from the guy at the half-yard line. That he's a dog. He's just a dog.
Yeah, I love that from your DBs. Absolutely.
And I like the guys they drafted too. Benjamin Morrison and Jacob Parrish are both corners that I liked in this class, and both guys who I think really fit this defense. Benjamin Morrison, if he didn't have the hip injury, he was probably a first-round talent.
Yeah.
The hip injury is a real concern there, though, because hips kind of matter a lot for corners. But, if he can bounce back from that, he's going to eat in this defense whenever he gets his chance. And Jacob Parrish is it kind of reminds me a little bit of a Christian Etienne or he's just a dog.
Yeah.
He's just a dog. He might be limited to the slot, but he has no problem hitting people and no problem just going all out all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But so, I mean, clearly we both feel pretty good about this team.
Yeah. So if I'm looking at futures for this division, so you can get over 9.5 win total for even money or division for even money. If I'm looking at this, I'm probably taking the over on the win total because I think they can go over 9.5 wins. And if the odds are the same, like I think they can get to 10 I think that's a pretty safe bet getting to 10. But if Atlanta, for example, plays as good as they can play, they can be a 13, 14 win team to where Tampa hits the over on the win total, but ends up in a wild card spot. So I think the safer bet is for the same odds, just take the over on win total because they could hit 10 wins and not win the division.
Yeah, I'm really surprised their win total is this low. Honestly, 10th easiest schedule by like Warren Sharp's rankings, which are just based on the Vegas win totals.
Yeah.
I mean, they got Atlanta, Houston, Jets, Eagles, Seahawks, 49ers, Lions, Saints, Patriots, Bills, Rams, Cardinals, Saints, Falcons, Panthers, Dolphins, Panthers. Like, I don't know. 10 is kind of a weird range. I feel like that's where you just start to hit the average territory in strength of schedule. Because, like, I don't see that and be like, oh, that's easy, but it's not hard. And, like, with the talent on this team, I just have to think they're going to hit 10. So, I mean, I'm with you. I'm thinking the over on the win total and just, like, let that ride because playoffs are low. Division is almost the exact same as the over 9.5 wins.
Yeah. So if you're looking, my thing is if you're looking at the division, I don't think they're going to win the division with 9 wins. So win total to me is the clear, easy. I mean, if you like betting futures, I mean, you're getting even odds. So maybe sprinkle. See, I would sprinkle maybe to win the NFC, maybe not win the Super Bowl. I don't know what that would move the odds to. Maybe like 15-1 instead of 30-1, but I could see them making the NFC Championship game if everything breaks for them, especially with the way they run the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I could see this team going to an NFC Championship and having a fighter's chance in any game they're in. Basically,
Yeah.
Like I mean, I just can't stress enough how impressed I am with the way they've reloaded this roster, and they have guys who are coming in their second, third, and like fourth year now of that reloaded roster where they're entering their prime. Like Cody Mock should be entering his prime this year. Graham Barton should be better than last year. Bucky Irving might be just as good, maybe a little better than last year. And then like guys like Diaby and Cansey and Logan Hall should all kind of be entering their prime here. Tyke Smith and Zahai McCollum too. Like we're talking about guys who are entering the best years of their NFL career. I'm excited about this team and what it could be.
Yeah. The only hesitation you might have is a lot of their key talent is getting a little bit older. Chris Godwin, obviously, a lot of injury concerns. Mike Evans is getting older. Levante David's getting older. Antoine Whitfield, he's even getting older now. So that would be my only concern. Is a lot of your top end talent is getting older, and
Winfield's still 26, so I'm not going to put him there yet. But like when I look at the guys that I've marked as my blue chip guys, Levante David, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, that's half of their blue chip guys. Where you're like, okay, they are getting up there.
Then you throw in how reckless Baker can get.
Yeah.
So that would be my main concern if I'm a Buccaneers fan going into this season. But if they stay healthy, they're going to be right there come divisional round NFC Championship game, I believe.
Yeah. I wish they had a little more or I guess Chris Braswell. I'm not sure how he made out for them last year, but because he was a decently highly drafted guy. I was going to say I wish they had a little more at edge, but if Braswell can be that guy for them, I start to feel a lot better about it.
Yeah.
But also, if he was going to be that guy, I don't know if they'd take their shot on Hassan Reddick either. So questionable there. But he's going into his second year. He has. We'll see.
Did they pay Hassan Reddick a lot of money?
I'm not sure. I think so.
I don't
I think they gave him like as much money as anyone was going to give Hassan Reddick.
Yeah, they gave him market value.
Yeah, a 1 year, $14 million.
Okay. So nothing, no long-term investment there.
Yeah. All right, but let's get to the Falcons now.
Dirty Birds.
Dirty Birds. The Dirty Birds back, Jay?
I never know with this team.
I don't either. I look at this roster and I see a lot of the pitfalls of a typical Ryan Pace roster, which I learned pretty well as a Bears fan. So like I am pretty cautious looking at them.
Yeah, so I mean, all right. So you look at this team and you want to just talk about a team where you can just name dudes. Like you can name a lot of dudes on this team. I mean, between
Ryan
Newsel, Bergeron, Lindstrom. No, but yeah, I mean, you have the Bijan Robinsons, you have the Drake Londons, Kyle Pitts, even Darnell Mooney's not a bad wide receiver too. Jesse Bates there at safety. They brought in Leonard Floyd, and then they take two of the better pass rushers in the draft in the first round, Jalen Walker and James Pierce. I mean, James Pierce might have been the most talented edge rusher in the draft, but can he put it all together? Can he figure it out? I don't know. We'll see. To be determined. I mean, a lot of questions there, but yeah, I mean, just seems like a very talented team. But then Michael Penix, I mean, I don't know if he showed me enough last year to where if I'm an Atlanta Falcons fan coming into this season, I'm super confident he's going to go out there and sling it. And I mean, what do you expect out of a year two quarterback? I'm not sure, but what do you expect out of a year two quarterback that's already his age? I mean, you're hoping we can get into the high 20s on touchdown throws, keep the interceptions low, throw for about 4,000 yards. I mean, it's kind of what you need out of this guy right now with this roster. Can he get there?
I watching a few games from Penix the last week, I actually came away more impressed than I thought I would be. I thought that his arm talent really shows through at the NFL, and it's like I think something that I forget sometimes when watching college quarterbacks, college tape, is that the throws are wider. You need their horizontal distance on their throws does make a difference. And you can really see the ball pop out of Penix's hand, and he really catches your attention on some of this stuff.
Yeah, you just have to flip the camera so it doesn't look like witchcraft.
Yeah, right. And I think Penix he's going to avoid negative plays. Like if this team can run the football, they're going to score points because he's going to avoid the negatives in the pass game and hit all the layups.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that he's going to do a lot more than that, but he's going to do that.
They need Bijan to be the guy they drafted him to be. That's for sure. Yeah. And
hey, some people will argue with you that he was last year. He was the guy they drafted him to be.
Yeah.
I mean, he put up plenty of volume numbers, and his efficiency was good in that volume.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like every time I watched an Atlanta game, it just left me wanting more.
Yeah, let's see. So it was almost 1,900 yards from scrimmage and 15 touchdowns last year. I'm not saying that I disagree with you. I'm just saying, from a pure numbers standpoint, when you look at it, it's really hard to argue that he didn't do that.
Yeah, and I mean, is this the year we finally get a Kyle Pitts breakout? I don't know.
Like I said earlier, I go try to find plays for these guys that I can throw in these videos when we cut them up later. And watching Kyle Pitts highlights will always sell anybody. His best plays are holy shit, this guy is a monster. But then it just doesn't work out. And there's something I heard about him potentially, the injury he had, I think it was as a rookie or his second year. He's never fully gotten the same burst back from, which that I can buy that to a degree. That might be why he's never really lived up to his draft slot. I don't know though, because his highlight plays are still so good that I struggle to buy that, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know, but if there ever is a Kyle Pitts breakout year, it's this year.
Yeah,
You know why?
I mean, Michael Penix likes tight ends.
Contract year.
Oh, yeah, that too. And then I mean, you look at the talent on this team. I mean, we didn't really talk about Ray McLeod in the slot. I mean, he's a solid as third option as you can really get in the NFL right now.
Super underrated player.
And then
he had like some of his plays are like wildly fun.
Yeah, and so it's like I don't understand how you can't get this guy the ball with Drake London and Darnell Mooney and Ray McLeod with the threat of Bijan Robinson and even Tyler Algier isn't a bad option there. You should be able. You should a tight end in that situation should be able to feast.
You know who on this roster I think I'm buying into with Michael Penix at quarterback?
Darnell Mooney.
The couple games I watched, it was like Penix was just looking his way a lot and getting him the football quite a bit. So I am definitely interested in Darnell Mooney for fantasy purposes this year.
Yeah, Money Mooney.
Loved him in Chicago. Still love him in Atlanta. He just does the dang thing.
Yep. All right. So moving on over to the defensive side of the ball. I mean, we talked about the young guys a little bit on that they drafted. Leonard Floyd. Is he the one that plays great on turf?
He does play well on turf. You know who he really excels against though? Mobile quarterbacks. Like something like a third of his career sacks have come against like Aaron Rodgers back when Aaron Rodgers was was much more mobile. Russell Wilson, Geno Smith, and like Kyler Murray. He eats against those guys.
Yeah, it's good having Bryce Young in the division, and the way Baker moves around over there. So, and then you have Arnold Ebiketie. Yeah. No, another solid edge rusher. I mean, I love
what fine. You know,
yeah,
he's fine.
I like what they did here. I mean, like I said, I like the James Pierce pick. I like the Jalen Walker pick. I thought Jalen Walker was the best edge rusher in this draft. And then doubling down with James Pierce. I love that. I mean, getting to the quarterback wins you games.
I don't know, man. I think they fucked up. This was the deepest defensive tackle class we have ever seen. They have serious need at defensive tackle, and they didn't take one because they moved up for James Pierce, who, sure, they needed an edge rusher, but you already took Jalen Walker. Like, is Jalen Walker an edge? Is he a linebacker? Are they going to do some Micah Parsons type thing with him? I don't know. But, like, I don't think they were afforded the luxury of using that type of capital twice that early in the draft at the same role, essentially, of a designated pass rusher. Because Pierce is going to be he's a designated pass rusher until proven otherwise. And same with Jalen Walker. Neither of these guys I fully trust to play rushing downs a lot until they show me they can.
Yeah, I mean it's the Falcons. I mean, they've proven that they're going to do what they want to do on draft day.
Yeah, I mean, nothing like I liked Ruka Rororo coming out of the draft last year. I think they took him at a fine spot, but he didn't show a lot as a rookie. So now you're sitting here saying we are relying on Ruka Rororo to be a starter for us on the defensive interior. And I'm going like with Morgan Fox and David Onyemata is still good, but he's getting older every year, you know? And like Zach Harrison is a converted edge rusher who didn't quite have the burst to play out there. Again, another guy I liked a lot in the draft when they took him, but you always kind of knew he might need to kick inside. And at that point, he's just much more of a pass rusher. I see all pass rushing defensive tackles except for Onyemata, and that's a lot of weight to put on one guy who's getting up there in age.
Yep. Especially when you're in a division with some of the running backs they have here.
And offensive lines. Like Carolina can jam it down your throat.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I think I think we're going to see some really, really fun and exciting games for the Atlanta Falcons. But this is a team that could also get hot too. So it's like, how do they navigate that schedule, and can they keep up some momentum if they win 3 or 4 games in a row, or is it just going to be the same old Falcons that just peter out, just can't get it done?
They have the 4th easiest schedule according to Warren Sharp's analysis. As long as they can play with a lead, I think they can be a problem, because with AJ Terrell, Jesse Bates back there, I mean, I don't love the rest of their defensive backs, but those two are really good football players, and they have a bunch of guys who can rush the passer. Yeah, they can play from ahead; they'll be fine.
They should be able
situations.
They should be able to control the time of possession with their running backs too.
Yeah,
whether or not they actually do, I mean, that's another thing we've seen from this team. It's like, you would think having a guy like Bijan and Tyler Algier, you would be able to hold on and just be able to run out the football. And I feel like they struggled with that even at times last year.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of it last year, frankly, was they didn't pay Kirk Cousins all that money to not throw the football, and that kind of got them in trouble because his shoulders kind of shot, or his elbow or whatever it was. I think that got them in a little trouble late in games with them saying we need to trust our quarterback, but like, should you be trusting your quarterback here? I don't know.
Yeah,
with their O-line, I mean, Jake Matthews, Matt Bergeron, Chris Lindstrom might be the best offensive guard in football. Like, this dude he's a monster. And Caleb McGarry is a much better run blocker than pass blocker. So, like, and I think Matthews is better run blocker than pass blocker. I think Bergeron is probably about equal at both. Like, you have a very run blocking centric offensive line here. You're going to have to tote the rock.
Absolutely. So, you wanna go to some futures?
Yeah, sure. Well, so I just want to talk about their linebackers for a quick second.
Okay.
Because Caden Ellis is probably fairly unknown to non-Falcons fans, but he's just he's a chaos, like Captain Chaos out there, right? Like, he can run around with like a chicken with his head cut off and just make wild stuff happen. Really impressive blitzer, and I'm interested to see what Raheem Morris is going to do with Divine Diablo, because Diablo is a guy who, when I watched him with the Raiders, I felt like he's a bit weird of a fit in a lot of defenses, but like, his versatility and his length can really play well. He's a really impressive blitzer, can really play well in the box, but like, probably not, but more rangy than your typical linebacker. I'm not sure about his coverage instincts, but his general range is, because of that length and his athletic traits, is really impressive. But again, I'm not sure he's a guy who holds up that well on running down. So like, I come back to that narrative again. How do they play when they're not like well ahead in the game and can control the game script? And these corners, I mean, Mike Hughes is fine. D. Alford's fine. But like, I want more. I wish they had a little more there, because to me, I look at this secondary and I say, if I'm an offensive coordinator, I'm just not going to throw at Jesse Bates and AJ Terrell.
Yeah.
Like, I'm throwing literally everywhere else.
Yeah. No, I agree. So we have a win total set at 7.5, playoffs at plus 136, division at plus 220, Super Bowl at plus 6,060 to 1 there for you. Oh, man. I kind of like the under here, plus 125.
And any of these bets, I'm taking the under 7.5 wins. And that's not because I think the Falcons will win less than 7.5 games, but I think there's a better chance of that happening at plus 125 than the playoffs at plus 136. Like, that just, to me, I just see too many flaws in this defensive roster for me to love it. And I don't love Michael Penix having to win shootouts.
I do think they're the clear-cut second best team in this division. I don't think the Panthers can really compete yet. I do think the Panthers are on the rise, and we talk about them here in a minute. But I mean, division at plus 220. I want a little bit more there. If it was closer to that 3-1, I might take it there just because, especially what we talked about with the Buccaneers and their age and everything. So that would probably be my second option here, even over the playoffs at plus 136, because basically for the same reason I talked about with the Buccaneers is like, well, if they're winning the division, they're going over 9.5. I think here, if something does happen with the Buccaneers, you can win this division at 9 games. If for some reason the Buccaneers fall off, so at plus 220, and you go 9-8, it could happen. But they're not making the playoffs if they go 9-8. But I do see a possibility of winning the division at 9-8 and hitting that plus 220. So that would probably be my second option here.
I'm with you. Playoffs plus 136 is a non-starter for me. I just want nothing to do with that. That's too low. Not enough.
Stay away from that.
Like, I look at this roster. If Drake London goes down, they might be fucked.
Yeah.
If Bijan goes down, they'd be fine. But like Chris Lindstrom goes down, I have serious concerns because at that point, you're starting like Elijah Wilkinson at guard. I don't like their depth on the O-line really at all. It's a very, like I said at the start, I feel like I'm looking at the pitfalls of a Ryan Pace roster when I see this. It feels a lot like those like 2020, 2021 Bears to me, where it's like very top heavy. They're better than those Bears teams were.
Yeah.
But like, they're one linchpin away from something going really wrong. Like AJ Terrell or Jesse Bates goes down, I really don't like where they're sitting. Whereas with the Buccaneers, one guy goes down, like Jamel Dean goes down.
Yeah.
They've got Benjamin Morrison and Jacob Parrish sitting there ready to go. Then like one of the offense, like Tristan Wirfs goes down for the Bucs. I'm just kind of trusting that their coaching staff can figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And they have enough talent throughout the rest of the roster to figure it out. Mike Evans goes down. They've got Jalen McMillan sitting right there. I just don't see that type of depth with Atlanta's roster.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I like the under at plus 125. I think I could really see 6 and 11 here.
Yeah, and I mean, ultimately, I
10.
think this is
I think it's an average
probably
football
an
team.
8 to 10, maybe. More likely 9 win team. But there's not a good bet at 8 to 9.
Yeah,
on the board.
Exactly.
So the only bet I can take is the plus money on the under 7.5, and just say something might go wrong here.
Yeah, and when you look at the things that could go wrong, there's a lot of them. And so, is Kirk Cousins on this team week 1?
I can't. I have a hard time believing it, but I don't know. That contract, I think, just makes it really hard for them to move him.
Yeah. But I mean, so if he is on the roster, that is probably the one thing that you can point to and be like, you lose the quarterback, and you have at least somebody that can go in there and everything's not going to fall apart. So
yeah, like if Penix goes down, I mean, I do think Kirk Cousins can make the playoffs with this roster. Like even neutered Kirk Cousins, who doesn't have the same arm that he once did. I do think there's something there, and there is. I mean, I don't know. They'd have to eat a bunch of cap still by trading him, but like, I don't know. You're eating that cap one way or the other is kind of the way I see it. Like, I believe they can eat that cap this year. Like, they're structured to be able to do it.
Yeah.
I have to believe someone will be interested in trading for Kirk Cousins if something goes wrong, someone goes down, or maybe a team just says like we think we're just a quarterback away.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, let's move on to the who dat? Who dat? New Orleans Saints.
Yeah.
Jayton, for those who might not be aware, is the number one Tyler Shuck fan on earth.
Far from it, brother. So, I mean, are they ever just gonna move on and burn this thing to the ground because, I mean, they go out and get Justin Reed in the offseason. They go out and get Dylan Radins. Like, it seems like they're still just patching this thing together year after year, even after Drew Brees is gone, even after Sean Payton's gone. Now Derek Carr retires. And, I mean, you look at it and you're like, you have a lot of pieces here. I mean, you have Chris Olave. I mean, I keep thinking the wheels are going to fall off for Alvin Kamara anytime now, and he's still going out there and playing good football. Cam Jordan, he's going to retire a Saint. So, but you just look at it and it's like, yeah, you have pieces here, but you really just need to tear this thing down and just start over from the ground floor.
I think that's kind of what they're doing this year. Like Ryan Ramchick's money is going to be off the books next year, I believe. Derek Carr is going to be off the books next year. And let's see, Cam Jordan, I'm not sure. Let's see. Yeah, this is the last year of his contract too.
Okay.
So like I think this kind of is their burn down year from a cap standpoint, and just say we are going to be able to reset after this, or reset enough. You know, there might be some of that still holding over, but like there will be enough where they can say, okay, we can structure all this, we can move stuff around to make all this work again. And really, someone I talked to who knows way more about the cap than I do put something out there this year to me of just like the cap is fake. Basically.
Oh yeah. Cap's
and it's like
real.
it's not. If you are willing to spend enough cash, you can get around most cap issues.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the Saints will be in a position where they can much more easily navigate the cap next year because of the money that's coming off the books with Carr, with Ramczyk, with Cam Jordan. Unless they might extend, I don't know, maybe they would extend Cam Jordan, but I don't know. But I think that they are going to be eating a lot of dead cap. Some of it will probably go to next year now I'm thinking of it because it's void years on these guys' contracts and they will hit next year. But so next year is their full reset year then.
Yeah. But I mean, so looking at this team 2025, it looks like we're going to be starting Tyler Shuck at quarterback, which, I mean, couldn't stay healthy through his 15 years of college. Finally had a healthy season at Louisville. He played all right. I mean, I wasn't blown away by his performance at all. He's back with his college teammate, Juwan Johnson, who's in his 7th year in the NFL.
I did not know they were college teammates.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's wild.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, getting the band back together. So, yeah. What is there to like about this team? Like, because I mean, it's the NFL. I mean, teams really are never as bad as you think they're going to be. Sometimes they are. I mean, historically, you can always probably bet on the Browns to find a way to fuck it up. But it seems like, especially in the last 20 years, the Saints always just kind of find a way to win games that they shouldn't win. I mean, last year, obviously not. Started out hot. Offense looked unstoppable. Well, were they 3-0 and then won 2 more games?
They were a classic
season?
tale of a. I said this when they started 3-0 last year. As long as they were playing from ahead, good luck. Like, Dennis Allen's defense was churning with a lead, and they could keep the ball on the ground, and they have a good O-line.
Yeah, they've done a lot. I mean, Penning played better last year than he had showed previously. I mean,
he's a really good run blocker. Like they didn't pick up his 5th-year option because his pass protection is pretty suspect. But like as a run blocker, he is a difference maker.
Yeah, Kelvin Banks. I mean, I thought that was just a good, safe pick. I mean, building for the future. So
I thought he was the best guard in the draft.
Yeah.
So I mean, so if they're playing him at guard, I love it. I think he does have some potential to play tackle, but like if I saw him like the Cowboys Tyler Smith of just like this dude's going to be a really good guard. Just play him at guard.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then Tyrann Mathieu, I mean, he's probably going to retire as Saint. So, I mean, this is kind of a swan song for some of these guys. I mean, Justin Reed's even getting old. Cam Jordan's getting old. Tyrann Mathieu's getting old. Alvin Kamara's getting old. Brandon Cooks back to the team that drafted him after. Was this the first time he's ever gone to a team that he wasn't traded to?
Might be.
In his career?
It might be.
I think Brandon Cooks might hold the record for being traded the most amount of times for a first-round pick. I think he was traded for a first-round pick like 4 times.
Yeah, something like that.
Crazy. But yeah, it's just kind of a swan song. One last ride. I don't know what to think about this team because honestly, I mean, if Tyler Shuck goes out there and plays well, they can easily win some games here.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like offensive line, Talisi Fuaga, Kelvin Banks, Eric McCoy, Cesar Reese, Trevor Penning. That is a good offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think Fuaga is going to go make a lot of Pro Bowls at tackle, but he can be a road grader of a run blocker and a serviceable to good pass protector. Like,
yeah, and
you can win with that. And like,
you look at the skill positions. I mean, Rashid Shaheed can take the top off it at any time. One of the most electric players in the league. Alvin Kamara is still playing at a high level. Kendre Miller played well last year. Devin Neal coming out of Kansas, I loved. So I definitely think they're going to be able to run the football when they want to. And Juwan Johnson, Taysom Hill, Foster Moreau. I mean, you have 3 good tight ends. I mean, they have depth, really.
yeah,
It's
I
just,
mean, it's old. It's a lot of the depth is a little older, and that becomes a concern because those injuries can stack on you. Like, I wouldn't sit here betting that the Saints will win more. Like, their total was at 5.5. I wouldn't take that over. But like, there are worlds where they just get some injury luck, and it's like, okay, this kind of works.
yeah, and especially
frankly,
if they win some games early. I mean, I think they're good enough to. I mean, honestly, if we're looking at the Saints team, might be one of my favorite teams against the spread this year because I think they're going to keep it close. I think they can muck it up. Just got to avoid mistakes from the quarterback position.
yeah, I mean, they were 7-10 against spread last year. I could see them doing that or a little better this year, like, just because I think there's going to be a lot of people really down on them. I do think, and Saints fans aren't going to like this, I do think last year's coaching staff had a better chance with this roster than this year's coaching staff.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think about Kellen Moore. I mean, I didn't love him in Philly. I think the Philly talent outweighed some of the things that Kellen Moore can really mess up at times and kind of get too cute with it. So
I think Sirianni's good at managing coordinators too. Like, I do think that he is good at that.
But yeah, and I mean, when that Philly situation, it's like it's hard to fuck that up. I mean, give Saquon the ball, throw the ball to AJ Brown, and let your quarterback go up the middle for 2 or 3 yards when you need it. Like,
now, even like what I said wasn't so much about the offensive side though, as the defensive side. Like, I look at this defensive roster, and I have watched and charted 5 games of the Saints defense from last year because Dennis Allen is the Bears defense coordinator. So I'm preparing for what to see, what to understand, what type of defense he runs. And I see Brandon Staley tied to this defensive roster personnel groupings. And I go, this is not a Brandon Staley roster. This is a Dennis Allen defense roster. He wants big, thick edge rushers like Carl Granderson and Chase Young who can play the rushing lanes. He wants to game things up for his defensive tackles. And they still have these same guys there on the defensive line for a defensive coordinator who historically is going to ask them to do very different things than what Dennis Allen was asking them to do. I'm not sure how Chase Young fits in this defense. Like, I think he's a hand in the dirt defensive end. I mean, Grant, he has the athleticism to do anything, but like, I don't know. He's only really excelled in New Orleans in that type of role, right? Like in Washington, even it's questionable how much he ever really excelled there with his hand in the dirt. But like, I don't know. Will Cameron Jordan be as effective under a new defensive coordinator in a new system? I think there's real questions there. Demario Davis has been a monster for Dennis Allen in New Orleans. I'm not sure he's going to be that same player. So like once those questions start to creep in, on top of, I can't believe Paulson Adebo got out the door there. Honestly, he went to New York, and so now we're talking Kool-Aid McKinstry showed some good stuff as a rookie, but now you got Alontae Taylor and Ugo Amadi starting at corner. Those are two names that don't do much for me, and that brings me back to similar to what I said with the Falcons. I'm an offensive coordinator seeing that. I'm just not throwing at Tyrann Mathieu and Justin Reed. I'm going to test Kool-Aid some, and I got two other options here that I can take.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Obviously they're not getting a whole lot of respect being at 5.5 win total. And I mean, I tend to agree. I mean, I just don't know where you're going to get when somebody's got to make a play on defense, when they got to make a stop.
You're talking about a team for the last 5 or like longer than 5 years, but like they have had a culture of figuring it out, finding ways to win football games, and that culture is wiped out now to something that is brand new. And I don't know how that's gonna work with a bunch of veteran guys who, should hold each other accountable and be like they're pros and all that, but like I just don't know how this culture, what it turns into with the complete staff change that is there now. And if I don't know, maybe their offensive coordinator Nussmeier wants his son next year a quarterback. Like, I mean,
maybe he's going to be there.
I do think there might be, if there's one team in the NFL that I think is on tank watch, it might be the Saints.
Yeah. It won't be Arch. Yeah. I mean, I think this team, if everything goes right, I think it's a 500 team, 8-9, 9-8.
Yeah, I think that's their ceiling for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're looking at this. Over 5.5 is plus money. Under is minus 125. You have playoffs at plus 650, division at plus 1,000. If I'm taking something here and I'm just sprinkling it, maybe the playoffs at 6.5 to 1, just for the fact that it is the NFL. I mean, crazy shit can happen. They can win 4 or 5 games down the stretch and sneak into that 7 seed maybe if everything goes right. I mean, I think the NFC
schedule.
Yeah, I think the NFC is going to be pretty tough this year, but I think that kind of helps them if they're trying to backdoor their way into that 7 seed. A lot of the other divisions going to be beating up on each other. So, I mean, I do see a little bit of window of opportunity for them there to sneak in, but that's probably what I would look at here is that 6.5 to 1 to make the playoffs, just because it is the NFL and teams sneak in all the time. Yeah.
I'm probably just doing the over 5.5. I'm betting anything just because last year only one team in the NFC won fewer than 5 games. It's still the NFC. I don't really. I at plus 105. I think I'll take the over 5.5 wins, but like it's not something I'm just sprinkling maybe. And at that point, I get your logic of just saying, well, why not do playoffs then if you're sprinkling because that's plus 650.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at this division. I mean, I think they can go 3-3 in division. I mean, division games are hard. It's
Yeah.
New Orleans is a tough place to play.
Hell, I'll tell you what. I would not be at all surprised if they only won 2 games in the division and they were both against the Falcons, just because the Saints hate the Falcons' guts.
Yeah.
Like and the Falcons hate the Saints' guts, but historically the Saints have been the more gritty team, and that hate has worked out more in their favor. But like those are some of those physical football games I've watched the last few years, the Saints Falcons games.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you have anything else to say about New Orleans?
No, I think we're good there. And on that note, we had a special guest, Jared Feinberg, join us yesterday evening to talk about the Carolina Football Panthers, and we will go ahead and play that now.
All right, and now we're going to jump into the Carolina Panthers, break down their entire roster with our very, very good friend, Jared Feinberg. Tell the people where they can find you, Jared, and how you got into being a Carolina fan and all of that.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you guys letting me on here tonight. Chat with you guys about Panthers football. So you guys can find me on X, on Blue Sky, and Threads at JRod NFL Draft. No different handles. That's what it is on those platforms. I kind of started my Panthers fandom around when Cam Newton was drafted. I followed it. I basically fell in love with the game because of Cam, and I basically followed him to Carolina. And once I did, just watching him and seeing the fan base, seeing the excitement of the fans really gravitated to me. And that's when I not only fell in love with the Panthers, but fell in love with football, realizing, hey, this is what I want to do for a living. This is what I definitely want to be doing. I didn't realize the writing stuff was what I wanted to do until probably high school. But that's around when I truly became a true fan of this team. It's been a unique experience, and lately I've kind of ventured off into different teams, such as doing work on SI with Jacksonville Jaguars, Kansas City Chiefs, Los Angeles Rams, on top of Panthers Wire work with Anthony Ruiz over there at USA Today SMGs. So yeah, it's the last couple of months were busy, but now we're in a dead period. We're kind of slowing down on some content, but we're still pushing through. Excited to talk about some Panthers football tonight. Let's get into this thing, man.
Yeah, that's always the I feel like the NFL season ends and it's like part of you as a content creator feels like you can take a breath. That's like draft. We're free agency. Like that's almost the busier time in some ways. Mm-hmm. And then after the draft, you're like, I can breathe. Okay, this is like we're here. We made it. But Jared, before we get too much into roster breakdown or anything like that, what are you excited about what the Panthers added this offseason?
I'm excited about the fact they made a true effort to essentially rebuild their defense, adding talents in the trenches where they desperately needed it. They lacked the depth and the talent up front last season. Lost Derek Brown week 1 to a torn meniscus. I don't know if that run defense is a little bit better. Even with Derek Brown, it was a bad defense last year. Gave up the most points, most total points in NFL history. It was not a good group. But I look at this team now on paper, it is significantly better than what it was last year, which is a great sign that this defense will at least be average. One of my favorite signings probably of the Panthers free agency class, and even with the draft overall, is Bobby Brown III. The Panthers have been needing a nose tackle for, probably the last 2-3 years. And Brown comes in from Los Angeles, from that defense, and looks to be a potential core piece to that defensive front. And the Panthers have been needing a true two-gap nose tackle for a while. Brown can do that very well. He doesn't have elite production, but neither does his teammate Derek Brown. So what Brown the third has shown is someone that can just get after in the run game, can get you stops, can fill gaps like no one's business. This is a good football player, and I think he's got a chance to be a very productive player in Carolina. So Brown, definitely one of my favorite additions. I'll even say Nick Scorton, Princely. I still can't pronounce his last name, but Princely. Those two players,
I think it is.
Yes. Those two players were great picks for Carolina in day 2. I was shocked they actually went, or they doubled down on edge rusher in day 2. I was expecting more just kind of right out. But when you have talents that you feel are high on your board and you feel convicted with those players, you go and get them. And I'm glad Carolina really addressed the edge rusher room there overall. It's young. They did release Jadeveon Clowney a couple weeks ago. There's some fans that are like, we're not sure about that. Are we really going to have to trust DJ Wanham and Patrick Jones to be the starting edge rushers to start the year? And the thing is, I think Wanham's a solid player, solid pass rusher overall. I think Pat Jones is a good run defender. He's also shown to be a pretty adequate pass rusher himself. So I think the pass rush this year is better than what it was last year. Now, will this culminate into an elite defense in year 2 or year 3 under Ejiro Evero? I don't know. I doubt it. I think if you at least get to average play from that defense, it is 100% better than what it was a year ago. It is significantly better play than a year ago, and that will help Carolina win football games. I think over time, this defense can develop into an elite one, but it will take some time. This isn't going to be an easy fix. What they did this offseason was a really solid fix, a good step in the right direction, but they need to keep pressing forward, especially in 2026.
Now, if this defense were to exceed that expectation of just being like a average defense, as you said, who are 1 or 2 players that you would say, I told you this defense exceeded expectations, they were above average in the league? Who are the 1 or 2 players that created that ability for them to exceed expectations?
I think it starts with your 2 cornerstone pieces, J.C. Horn and Derek Brown. Those are your 2 true defensive guys at cornerback, at defensive line. Brown is a terrific player. I think we forget, even though he hasn't played, he technically really hasn't played in almost 2 years, or at least a full season in 2 years. This is still a very good defensive tackle and someone I think could produce at a high level as a pass rusher in this defense. J.C. Horn got paid this offseason. Great time that he got his contract because it looks cheap compared to what it was when he first got it. Horn, as long as he stays healthy for most of the season, I said last year, if he played, or at the beginning of last year, if he plays 14 games this year, he's going to be a Pro Bowler. He's going to earn himself a big contract. Look what happened. Got the contract, got the Pro Bowl. Next step, another healthy season, at least 14 games. Keep that momentum going. Keep that healthiness, consistency going. If you can continue to play at a high level, that's going to help Carolina a lot. I think the additions that Carolina even made this offseason, especially in the defensive front, and they continue to add at free safety, say Justin Blackmon at free safety, that would be huge for Carolina's efforts to become more of a man defense, allow themselves to be a lot more diverse. They played a lot of cover 3 last year, and they couldn't play much of anything else because of the lack of talent they had defensively. Now, with some of that coaching, of course, I think coaching does bear some responsibility there. So this is a big year for Evero, one way or another. I think he's gone one way or another after this year. Either he's going to be a head coach somewhere, he's going to be a defensive coordinator elsewhere, or he's fired before the end of the season. Just depends on how this defense performs and how people and even the team itself, or even Dave Canales, perceive Evero as a defensive coordinator. But J.C. Horn, Derek Brown, those are going to be the two guys that really judge how this defense is going to perform in 2025. You're on mute.
I am on mute. Thank you. Our number here on this graphic for Derek Brown, 64th percentile. Like, that doesn't seem that great. But, man, when I watch Derek Brown's tape, I go, this dude is a game wrecker. I think he is an absolute monster. And, like, I hope he can stay healthy, like you said, because when he's healthy, I think he's one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL. And it's clear as day in his tape. He's just manhandling people. And to your point about Evero, they ran a lot of cover 3 last year, and that feels like a sin for a defense coordinator with the acumen of Ejiro Evero, because he just wants to do so much diverse stuff and versatile stuff from what I've seen. Can you talk a little bit about like what you expect to see from him if they do get some of that health or consistency on the back end to be able to do more of what he likes to do?
Yeah, so that was a talking point earlier in the offseason after it was announced that Evero would return this season. Is that, all right, what does this defense need to be where Evero wants it to be, where he can be the defensive coordinator that we witnessed in Denver a couple years ago? The guy that can disguise defenses like nobody else, that can put your players in the right positions to succeed like nobody else. And I think it comes down to having that true free range safety on the back end. I think they need someone like Justin Blackmon. And it seemed like they indicated during the draft and even afterwards that they aren't done at the safety position. They are still going to look to add at safety, but there's no rush to do so. There's still a couple months until training camp. So I would anticipate something. I mean, it could happen anytime. But if Justin Blackmon is high on their radar, which I would safely assume that's a true possibility, he will likely be a Carolina Panther within the next couple months. I just don't know when. But you get Justin Blackmon in this secondary, it's going to allow you to run more quarters, run more man, run more diverse coverages, rotate your safeties out of that cover 3, that single high alignment. So you're going to allow your safeties to come down and play the run if you want them to. It'll be similar to what Steve Spagnuolo does with his safeties. He'll rotate them early. He'll rotate them as the snap is happening, and he'll rotate them a bunch even pre-snap, especially when offenses are readjusting a play, calling an audible. Spag will just move these safeties all over the place. And Vic Fangio does the same thing. And of course, Ejiro Evero being more so of an assistant to Ejiro or to Vic Fangio. So this is Fangio's system, but in Evero's little touch, let's just say. So I'm excited to see what Evero can do this year. I'm much higher on him in terms of, hey, this is what he can become. Now, if it's first 4 games, his defense is still giving up 30 points a game, then it's likely Evero, and you have to toss him, which means Jonathan Cooley, their secondary coach, will likely be the defensive coordinator in waiting. And it seems like that's the way they've been leaning it this offseason. So that's what it's going to take for Evero to be the quality defensive coordinator that everyone knows him to be. And I think Panther fans will see that this season. I think they'll see an improved secondary, especially if they add another safety like Blackmon or another true free safety.
And do you mean Justin Simmons? better than Blackman? Or am I
The
getting
reason
that?
I listen, well, I think Simmons is still a good player. I just don't know if he fits what Carolina wants in terms of the ceiling they want to have for their secondary. And what I mean by that is that a lot of the signings the Panthers have made this offseason and last offseason were around players that were under 30. Blackman's 27. He's going to be, I think, 28 during the season. So he's a younger player, gives Carolina more ceiling and not a lot less, a lot more floor to deal with than Simmons, who is likely there for a season, is looking for possibly another contender to play with. In a perfect world, I would love Simmons. I think Simmons would be a great fit, but if Carolina was a Super Bowl contender,
Right.
I think that's the difference here. I think Blackman would be willing to play anywhere.
Is it Julian Blackman?
Julian
from
Blackman.
Indy. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I think that's where my confusion came in. Okay.
Yep.
I was thinking Justin Blackman. I was like the Jaguars wide receiver legend of yesteryear. Yeah, I mean, that makes a ton of sense. And I honestly forgot that Evero came from that Fangio branch. And that makes a lot of sense for the Trevon Moehrig, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, signing to me, because back when Moehrig was drafted, the Bears needed a safety, and they were just coming off. Vic Fangio had just become the Broncos head coach, and a guy who I talked with, who's a defensive backs coach, he was like, Bears got to get Trevon Moehrig. He's great at these late rotations in the backfield, and that going to fit that Fangio style defense extremely well. And I'm just sitting here thinking that's something that probably didn't get utilized enough with the Raiders when he was there, and something that he can probably bring more to the Panthers secondary than we've seen him do in the NFL.
And one thing I want to say is that Moehrig can play in coverage pretty well. Don't let the PFF stats fool you on that. Don't let the grade fool you. I went back and watched some of Moehrig's tape over the last few years, and especially, and I evaluated him coming out of college, out of TCU. He was a great coverage defender, like a great free safety too. Like, he can play on the back end. He can roam the post, deep third consistently if you allow him to. I think with the Raiders' lack of true adequate talent on that defense the last couple of years, he had to play more towards the box to help with the run. He's a great tackler. I think he's developed terrifically as a tackler. Maybe that could have hindered some of his coverage ability in the past, but I think he's still a very above average coverage safety overall. I was a big fan of the signing. I know a lot of people like the signing as well. Panther fans were really hoping those first couple days that the Panthers could have signed both Moehrig and Javon Holland. That would have been a home run at safety. That would have given you some nightmares, some just incredibly tough matchups to deal with this upcoming season. But of course, he went to the Giants. We'll see how the Giants do on that front. But I think the Panthers made a great signing with Moehrig. It will be interesting to see what they do at safety over the next couple months. If they bring in Blackman, if they try out Lathan Ransom, their 4th round draft pick, or Damani Richardson at free safety. I'm not the biggest fan of that idea, but I get it. But again, at the same time, you have to understand this is still somewhat of a rebuilding team, even though they're getting closer to not really being that team anymore. They just need to add a few more pieces. And I think safety is really their biggest lagging issue at the moment. Everywhere else, I think they're pretty solid for the moment. You're on mute again.
Especially this is our first team episode. I'm knocking the cobwebs off. I apologize.
All good.
It's been a rough start to it.
Yeah, we've had some technical difficulties here. It's we will get this all figured out here. But on the safety end, like especially if they go and add a Blackman, like you said, like I feel like that room starts to feel pretty good. But when I'm looking at the defense, I'm saying like we talked about the defensive line and some of the like. I think that there is some really nice stuff there as far as what they've built with getting Scorton, getting Princely in there. Cam Jackson was a guy who I probably liked more than I should. He just fit the archetype of defensive tackles that I like because I think they have a high floor in the league. But when I look at like Christian Roseboom and Josie Jewell, I'm like, okay, that's a solid linebacker room. Josie Jewell, that goes back to the Jura Evero and Denver stuff. Like there's some fit there that makes sense. And Roseboom is a guy who, 2 years ago, I was sitting here, I thought the LA Rams were going to have the number one pick, and then they proved me terribly wrong. I remember sitting here going, who the hell is Christian Roseboom? He's starting for them. And that's like 2 years later, the guy's still starting in the league, and he's been a pretty solid football player out there.
Mm-hmm.
But when I look at, I know very little about Mike Jackson besides him having a good number here. And Shaw Smith-Wade, I know there was some stuff to like about him coming out of college, but I don't know a lot about him, like what his outlook is at this point in his career. How do you feel about the cornerback room?
Cornerback room, it's okay. Horn, of course, stands out. Mike Jackson was solid last year. I was impressed with how well he played, how well he did coming in. I think he was one of the strengths of that defense last year. He was a great tackler coming downhill. I thought he had some good moments in coverage. There were also some times where he was like, it wasn't some not so ideal situations. But I think Jackson can be a solid man corner for this team. He's not a terrific player per se for this defense, but at the same time, he's one of the best players they got on the back end, and they'll continue to rely on him. He's just generally consistent. That's why I'll say he's just overall consistent with his play, and like the flaws are obvious, the strengths are obvious. He's just one of those players that he's going to struggle in some areas, but he's going to do great in others, and that's okay.
At CB2, that's kind of the standard, right? Like that makes sense.
Exactly. But I will say this, that Panther fans have had a tendency of wanting the best of the best players. I think every fan base wants that, but Panther fans, especially over the last couple of years, with Bryce Young having the rookie contract, like, hey, we got to bring in all the best players we can get. At the same time, I'm like, you got to let this team grow and develop. You got to let this team build. This team is nowhere close to going out and signing a T. Higgins or going out and trading for a Jalen Ramsey or going out and trying to drop a high ransom for Garrett Wilson when there were rumors he was on the trade market with the whole Rodgers debacle and whatever. So again, Mike Jackson, solid CB2. I have very few complaints with that. Smith-Wade, I thought he played very well at times last year. I thought he had some moments that came up big, especially in the Tampa Bay game. I think that was his first start in the NFL. He had a key interception, put Carolina in scoring range. I think they went on to score on that subsequent drive, and it led to a great overtime game in general. But Smith-Wade, he's a smaller corner. I don't know if he's going to consistently hold up as the nickel. And I think next offseason, you could see Carolina really going after a true starting nickel if Smith-Wade does not turn out for the better in 2025. But for a corner that's 5'9", 5'10", 180 plus, he plays much bigger than his size suggests. I mean, he's a true bulldog. And that excites me at nickel for them. And if you get quality play from Smith-Wade this season, you're going to have a pretty solid secondary in 2025.
Yeah, I mean I feel like you need those guys on your roster, right? Guys who like they don't quite fit all the check boxes that you want to check off, but like if they bring that bulldog mentality, that feisty gamer mentality, they're guys who tend to overperform maybe where you see them being. Now, I mean, I think we've covered the defense pretty well here. So I think we want to get into the offense a little bit here. And I think there's only one place we can start that, and that's
Quarterback.
Bryce Young, right? Like where are we at? How do we feel about Bryce Young's second year in the NFL against his rookie year, and where are our expectations going forward?
So last year was just a weird year. Of course, we see Bryce getting benched after 2 games. He just did not look like the quarterback everyone was anticipating coming out of Alabama in the first 2 weeks of the season. Hell, even
Very talented Alabama fan.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing that I wanted to see from Bryce in year 2 was just progression. I want to see progression. I want to see if he can show he can be a franchise quarterback in the NFL. And then Andy Reid has the car accident. And then Bryce Young comes in to start against Denver. He had some okay moments, had some bad moments too. But then he kept progressing with each game. And I would say the Kansas City game is really when he took off.
Yeah.
Gave the AFC champs a run for their money. The next week almost leads another game-winning drive against the Philadelphia Eagles, Super Bowl champion, Philadelphia Eagles.
Trash.
It was at that point where I was like, okay, Bryce, I think Bryce is here. I think he's got it.
I think
I got to see how he does the rest of the season. You see the progression with each game, and then the Atlanta game happened. 5 touchdown performance against the Atlanta Falcons in the season finale. It was at that moment where I was like, okay, I think he's the franchise quarterback for Carolina moving forward. I don't think there are any questions about it. I think the weapons around him got better with the drafting of Tatario McMillan. You added Rico Dowdle as RB2. Drafted Trevor Etienne. You drafted Mitchell Evans. Get Jadavian Sanders back. Get Adam Thielen back. A true security blanket for this offense. Even though there are some Panther fans that are like, we want someone younger, faster.
Adam Thielen's solid as a third option.
Yes, absolutely. And he's going to be a reliable target in this offense. Always open. Look, is he slow?
He's like Walmart in 2007, baby.
Oh yeah. Yeah, exactly. And
if you want one guy teaching like Tet and Leggett, it's probably Adam Thielen. Like the guy, it clearly, it seems like is willing to be a mentor to guys and has all the knowledge in the world of how to win
like
as a former UDFA who's now been in the league for forever. Like he knows
made a ton of money, got more money than God.
Yeah, and I also think Thielen's going to be a great mentor for Jalen Coker. That's another name that we really can't forget about. But what I saw from Bryce Young, final 10 games of the year, just lighting it up. Not necessarily lighting it up per se, but ending the year, the game that he had, I think he continues to carry that momentum. I think he's going to be a great quarterback for Carolina.
I do have a question for you. As a Panthers fan, how heartbroken are you to see Jonathan Mingo go away for a 4th-round pick? I know that had to.
I'm so heartbroken. I'm just absolutely devastated.
I know he was next up for Carolina in that offense, and just seeing him go for just a 4th-round pick too. It's like, dude should have been a first.
It was soul crushing. It was absolutely soul crushing. Yeah.
Yeah. I just like getting that confirmation so I can snap it and send it to my group text.
Yeah. Look, I mean, all I'll say is I wish Jonathan Mingo the best of luck. That's all.
Oh yeah. Best of luck. Yeah. Go out there. Yeah. I mean, you're a wide receiver 6 on that Cowboys roster. I mean, you'll kill it.
Fam. Good luck. Good
luck. Speaking a little bit about tragic though. Last year, you guys drafted a running back in the 2nd round.
Jonathan Brooks. Oh. Very skilled individual. ACL Tyree.
Yeah. Am I right? Did he just have another ACL injury occur?
At the end of the season, they tried. I thought he was going to be out all. You can go, but I thought he was going to be out all season. Then there it goes.
Yeah, and Brooks actually played a couple games. He played against the Chiefs.
About 3.5 games, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he didn't. And the flashes he showed in those games, I was like,
Dog.
this could be a fun running back duo with Chuba Hubbard and Jonathan Brooks. And then against Philly, first few snaps into the game, the knee goes out again.
It's always Philly that rips the joy out of the NFL.
Yeah.
Let's just get rid of the whole franchise.
Might as well. I mean,
what are we doing here?
Bad luck here with with Brooks.
Yeah.
I feel for the kid. He's so talented. I want him to succeed, and I think he can still be the same player we saw before the injury at Texas, and even the flashes he showed in those few games for Carolina. But you got to wonder, after 2 torn ACLs, how is he going to be able to challenge himself? Not necessarily challenge himself. More so, what's his mentality like?
It's also a crowded room now. All of a sudden, you bring in Rico Dowdle, you bring in Trevor Etienne. Then all of a sudden, he's the clear-cut 1-2 option. Now it's like, oh, okay, you're competing for a spot to make the roster.
Mm-hmm. And Brooks was put on the PUP list.
Yep. So he's out for the season.
Yep. So, and the thing with Rico Dowdle is interesting because I don't anticipate him to be here in Carolina past 2025. I think he's in Carolina for 1 year.
I'm proud of him for making a roster.
Yeah, exactly. And
full disclosure, Jay was once a Cowboys fan and has recently
never in my life was I a Cowboys fan.
Okay, now we need an investigation here. Like, oh boy.
Schottenheimer? You can't hire Brian Schottenheimer if you're the Dallas Cowboys.
Schottenheimer and Matt Eberflus is a tough combination to get behind.
I'm
Investigation closed. We're
I'm
good.
34 years old and I've never seen a conference championship.
That's just oof.
Josh Allen's the GOAT. No bandwagon here. I've been a Buffalo fan for life. I live in West Texas, and I see people all the time. They're like, "Oh, you're a Buffalo Bills fan? You from Buffalo?" And I'm like, "Yep." Born and raised, baby.
Oh my god. Look, I have a friend that I've had the pleasure of calling a friend over the last several years. He was a Cowboys fan, and then Schottenheimer got hired, and then it was just like that. It was over. So I'm like,
I know about 7 people that gave up their season tickets that they waited 3 to 4 years of being on a list for.
Would not surprise me if the Cowboys went 3-14 this year, and Schottenheimer's out again.
But they're also talented enough to go like 14-3. So it goes both ways. I'm terrified as a Bills fan of like seeing the Cowboys in the Super Bowl because like I'm committed to the bit. I can't turn around. And I'm like this is it. Like the second I give up on them, like that Schottenheimer's somehow going to do it. Yeah.
Jay, listen, I respect the bit. I respect the bit. I mean, it's a good bit. It really is. Like, keep going with it, man.
Yeah, it's so easy to fade the Cowboys. Like, if I've been fading the Cowboys my whole life, I'd be so much happier.
Oh man,
my relationship with this franchise is just like, they're gonna be good, and I can't cheer if the Cowboys go like 14-3 this year. Like I can't cheer for them. Like I can't bring myself to do it. And like God, like I'm gonna be like in a mental torture chamber if like it's Bills Cowboys for the Super Bowl. Because like I've fully committed to this bit. Like my house is all Bills. 8 months ago it was all Cowboys. Like all of my wife's football gear is Bills now. I have a 4-year-old son. He's all Billsed out. Like you're gonna make my friend Joe Marino very happy, my friend.
Very happy.
On that note, has there been much of that type of sentiment with the Panthers since David Tepper took over?
Yeah, that trade was crazy. I mean,
Touch on maybe a little bit more of like a heart-throbbing issue of like the question of Tepper's ownership and then like the following years after, which it seems like they're sitting in a good spot now. But
I think it's helped over the last couple of years that, or even I would include last year and this year, is that Tepper's been in the background. We haven't heard a peep. I've spoken with beat reporters that are like, we barely hear about Tepper anymore.
that's good.
I think that's a great sign that it's the football people doing the football stuff and not the Tepper meddling in the affairs like he did earlier. The whole thing with Tepper, when he
never want to be
first
considered the
became
worst owner in sports.
Yeah, I can agree with that. When Tepper was first brought on as the owner, when he first bought the team, I was like, okay, I think I might like this. But then he screwed up the Matt Rule hire. He didn't just go full bore with a clean slate, hire a new regime. He kept Marty Herney after he hired Matt Rule. Then he fired Herney, brought in Fitter, fired Rule, brought in Reich, fired Reich, and then Fitter.
Were they taking notes from the Bears GM or from the Bears ownership?
I guess so.
Bears love
they love doing that.
Alternating head coach and GM and never get them on the same page.
And I think Tepper really, I think he realized, okay, I got to go clean slate here. I got to do it. Went with Dave Canellis, hired from within with Dan Morgan. I think Dan Morgan showing he is not the GM. He's not the same GM as Scott Fitter. No way. I think this offseason showed the opposite of what Scott Fitter was. The contracts are better. They brought in Brent Tillis from Kansas City. That was a terrific hire. Like the way the contracts are structured for a lot of these free agent signings have been great. I think the same way can go for some of the contract extensions they've been giving out. Same with Derek Brown and JC Horn over the last couple of years. So it's been, I wouldn't say there's been the same animosity that Dallas Cowboys fans have had over the last few years or even this offseason. But I will say that fans were just mostly annoyed and ticked off that Tepper kept meddling in affairs. I don't think there was really like a changing of the team. Now, if the Panthers just completely bottom out this year, I think you're going to see a lot of animosity, a lot of teams like, you know what, forget about it. This franchise is not going to be successful anymore. You might as well move the team, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, all the feelings would be very valid, but it's hard for me to imagine this Panthers team having 4 wins this year, much less 5. I think this is at least an 8 to 9 win team. I think they get to 8 or 9 wins this year. They have the talent. Yeah, and if they can, I think the goal this year for Carolina should be you're competing for a playoff spot in the final few weeks of the year.
See, if I'm a Carolina fan, I'm looking at this roster and I'm looking at Bryce Young making that jump after how we finished last season. I'm looking at year 2, Xavier Legette. I'm looking at what Adam Thielen did last year. What he catch, like 70, 80 balls? I don't know exactly, somewhere around there. And then Tedero McMillan, who was really split amongst a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people thought he was wide receiver 1. Some people, I think Daniel Jeremiah said he wouldn't even draft him until day 3. A lot of split opinions there. I'm a Big 12 guy. Q is a Big 12 guy. I thought Tedero McMillan was fine. Didn't love him, but I like the way he fits in this offense. But you're looking at this offense, and you look at the NFC South in general, and there's a window of opportunity there. So it's like you look at the 6.5 win total as a betting man, which I am, which Q is. And as a betting man, 6.5, you're like, might as well take the division for $390 because if you're taking the over on 6.5, you're betting, you're hoping that you're getting to 8 or 9 wins, because like you don't want to be sitting there week 17, week 18, week 19 being like, let's get that 7th win. So if you think you can if you think you can hit the over on the win total here, like I think they can win the division if you think they can hit the over.
Because the over's unjuiced. It's minus 140. Like, you know,
and Carolina hit the over last year on their win total.
Yeah.
I think they can absolutely do it again, but I think they're going to mash the win total. They're going to blow it out of the ballpark.
So
at least for me personally.
I mean, if we're going by that logic, we're talking about winning the division, because if we get to there, I mean, we're looking at the Bucs and we're looking at maybe the Falcons, but
yeah. And Q and I were talking for the show that I feel like Tampa Bay has always been 12, 13 win team, but their coach kind of keeps them back from doing so. And I think Canales, I think Cohen has bailed them out a couple times or several times over the last
Baker Mayfield.
Years. Yeah. And that I'm so happy for Baker to see him succeeding.
I love Baker Mayfield.
Me too. And seeing Baker succeed in Tampa Bay has been great, but he's been a terror for Carolina or the last at least 3 of the last 4 games.
Imagine if Carolina could have ever signed a guy like that.
Man, look, that's the one memory from that season. I'm just like, I'd like to move on. It was never a fit. It really wasn't.
I mean,
one of our favorite sayings on this show in season and the off season, whenever we're talking about Baker in any way, is never doubt a Baker's horn. Probably keeps that. He has that chip on his shoulder that he keeps about Carolina. I'm sure that, like you said, he's been a bit of a terror for you guys. I don't think that's a coincidence. Whether he was wronged or not, he feels it, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, he played on Carolina?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
Traded July. That's July 2022. It ended November that year or December. I think it was around Thanksgiving. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. Then he went to the Rams.
2022 was a wild year because that year Carolina was within a game of getting into the postseason.
Oh yeah. If they would have grabbed a guy like Sam Darnold, they probably could have closed the deal.
You're just tugging at the heartstrings, man. I respect that.
Wait, what happened?
Well, if it feels any better, I still don't love Sam Darnold. Going forward, I think Baker's the real deal, but Sam Darnold, I still have a lot of questions.
I'm very curious at how Sam Darnold's going to turn out next year.
Yeah, I am curious about how you feel about this rookie offensive class with McMillan, Etienne, and Horn out of Colorado.
I love Mitchell Evans.
Mitchell Evans, too, yeah. Horn out of Colorado. This dude's got real.
He's one of my favorite picks from the draft. He's one of my favorite picks.
Game-changing speed. Jimmy Horn. If you watch Colorado, I mean, he didn't do everything right when you look at a receiver, but he changed games with his speed.
I wrote a film review for Panthers Wire last week about Horn. He's the missing element the Panthers have been wanting on that offense for the last few years.
Is he the Jameson Williams of the Alabama offense that Bryce Young was in charge of?
Mm-hmm. And I mean, look, I don't anticipate Jimmy Horn to be like an immediate contributor from the go. I think he does have room for growth, but I think he's going to make an impact as a punt returner, as a kick returner. You're going to see him on the field as more of a motion man, more as like, hey, we got speed on the field, but we're not really going to target him because we got McMillan, we got Thielen, we got Leggett, who I think, again, is going to be a good player for the team. I'm still a believer in Leggett. I think he's going to be a very quality player for Carolina as a true receiver too. I think McMillan's going to be their number one receiver going forward without question. And I think he's
got the body for it.
When I did my film, I'm getting through my film review with McMillan, and I'll have something out in the coming weeks. But going back and watching McMillan for like the third time since my first evaluation of him in January, I was like, man, I was really low on his route running ability because I think he's a better route runner than given credit for. And look, I was low on his route running ability just because there wasn't enough consistency there for me. But he ran routes differently than other receivers because of his size. And the light bulb came in my head. I was like, oh, yeah, receivers can win in all sorts of different ways. I think McMillan has the chance to, I think if he becomes more of an urgent player, and if he continues to hone in on his craft as a route runner, he's going to be a really good football player for Carolina for years to come. But
I think so. I think he's got that potential. He's got to put in the work, though.
Yeah. Horn and McMillan could be the future in Carolina, along with Leggett and Coker. Talk about a young wide receiver room with potential.
If I'm Carolina,
that's like Green Bay. It's similar to Green Bay.
If I'm Carolina, I'm sitting there looking, and you have a young, ripe, fresh, ready to go Adam Thielen. I just built the whole franchise around him.
Yeah. And look, I'll say this about Thielen.
Adam Thielen's going to go out there and catch another 75 balls next year for like 840 yards and 6 touchdowns and then just retire. We'll never hear from him again.
Exactly.
And you're like, what? Like he was on the verge of being an all-pro or something, and you're like, no, I'll never hear from that guy again.
Nope. And look, I think this is Thielen's last year in the NFL. I think
so too.
I think he'll be overtaken by a rookie, maybe Jalen Coker, maybe Jimmy Horn. One of those young receivers will stand out, and Thielen will slowly start being rotated out of the significant.
Bryce Young loves him, though. He could go up. I mean, he could.
And I think that's a key thing too. But if Carolina looks at Hunter Renfrow,
I saw that. Yeah, I got him.
And
you just saying that because they're white?
Oh my God, we're getting out of hand here.
Yeah, I'm just no, they're similar players. Yeah. Renfrow can go out there and catch you 100 balls, though.
He really could.
He really could.
Look, I get some of the hesitation around Renfrow. Will he make the roster? That still remains to be seen. Is he still the same player he was
last year off
his whole health issue that he recently revealed? I have no idea.
John Gruden seems to think he's ready to go.
A more quality player than Thielen is, and he's also younger. He's only a few years younger, but he's still younger. And Carolina loves players with ceilings. Renfrow still has a ceiling as a quality playmaker.
Mm-hmm.
He could replace Thielen in the slot, and you'll allow Thielen to maybe transition to another franchise that needs a quality pass catcher security blanket on a team that needs that's either a Super Bowl contender or a playoff contender. I could see it happening, but there's still a lot to be had this summer.
If I'm Carolina, I don't want Adam Thielen walking out of the building.
That's fair. Yeah,
I'm sitting there like, this dude's on the verge of retirement. Look what he's worked with, like, and he's kind of said he wants to go into coaching. Like, I just try to transition on this stuff. Like, I ain't trying to send him nowhere else. Like, I want him to be maybe a wide receivers coach, a draft guy for me going forward. Like, take his knowledge, take his experience, take all of that and build with it. Like, I'm not letting Adam Thielen walk out the building right now. At what is he, 36 years old?
Build that culture that he's already kind of implemented.
Ain't no way that dude's walking through the door. Like, he is staying right by my side.
Yeah. But again, you and Q was talking about earlier, you can talk yourself into really any team.
And South?
This was pre-show. And
I'm not talking myself into the Saints.
No.
The other three,
you stare at any roster long enough, you can talk yourself into it.
Yeah, you really could talk yourself into any team. You
Not
could
the
talk yourself
Saints.
into trying to think of another bad team out there. Titans. You could talk yourself into the Titans somehow.
Titans got some dog. Cam Ward's a dog.
I'm not going there. I'm not going there. I can't do it. I can't.
Incarnate Word legend, dude.
I can't do it. I love Cam Ward. I can't talk myself into the Titans right now.
Did you ever have a lazy Saturday down in San Antonio and go and watch the Incarnate Word Cardinals? Then just Cam Ward just dicing up like low level Division 1/Division 2 players for a Saturday.
I mean, what he was doing
One of the
was
wildest
insane.
journeys.
Yeah. No,
but
that South is
the South is wide open. I think that, outside the Saints, I think it's wide open between Carolina, Atlanta, and Tampa Bay. Those are your three teams competing for, or basically vying for the division title.
Yeah, Atlanta is a wild card. Atlanta can go 4-13 or like 15-2.
Yeah, they really could. And I think big key of that is Penix, big time.
Yeah, big old Penix believer.
There are two more things on this offense that I want to touch on before we wrap this
Offensive
up.
line.
And I'm saving the best for last. So I want to talk a little Chuba Hubbard. I want to talk about what makes Chuba Hubbard different than a lot of running backs in the league. And
he's from the Big 12.
It can be extremely impressive. So, Jared, what are your thoughts on Hubbard?
Hubbard has been one of the most hardworking players I've come to watch as a Panthers fan, but also as just a general football watcher. Hubbard he went from a raw player out of Oklahoma State that had bad contact balance, that didn't have great vision, that was an okay receiver in the passing game, to being great at all of those, which just shows you his dedication to the craft, his work ethic, and to developing into one of the better running backs in the league. I think the thing with Hubbard is that he never goes down without a fight. He will always fall forward. He's not like a massive running back. He's not this Derrick Henry sized running back. He's got a somewhat smaller stature for a running back, I would say, from just my viewings, but Hubbard can run the football well. He's got good vision. His eyes and feet have become interlinked with each other, essentially, where wherever his eyes are going, his feet are going, and that allows for good footwork, good maneuvering at the first and second level. And then also he has enough burst to win on the third level and beyond. He can run away from defenses if you allow him to. And he showed that plenty at Oklahoma State coming out. So Hubbard has developed into one of the best running backs in the league, which is great to see. Contract extension very worthy of. It wasn't a Christian McCaffrey type of contract. It was a contract that I'd probably give any of the top running backs in the league right now. Like it wasn't too bad at all. I would say it's probably one of the better contracts you should be giving running backs these days, considering their positional value. Unless you're Saquon Barkley.
What are Panthers' thoughts on a Christian McCaffrey contract in 2025?
I would say that Carolina is just they're not going to pay that type of money for it.
I think Carolina made the right move in that deal, and
I agree.
We're 3 years removed, and San Francisco still doesn't have a title, and they're paying Brock Purdy $250 million. So who really won that trade?
Interesting, yeah, and. They're extending players, and I feel like they're just putting themselves deeper into a cap hole. It wasn't looking great, or I don't think it's still looking great, but we'll see. But I think Hubbard, what he has done over the last few years to develop into a terrific runner, I still think his best football is ahead of him, which is awesome. And if you can get a healthy Jonathan Brooks back there, you can continue to extend the lifespan of Hubbard's career, keep him fresh, keep Brooks fresh, keep ETN fresh. Trevor Etienne will have an impact on this offense at some point this season. Probably in the passing game, probably in the rotation, but Hubbard's the guy. He's the workhorse. It's going to be hard to get him off the field. Carolina really tried to get him off the field as much as possible, try to get some other guys on the field as well, but Hubbard's just that good at this point of his career. And I think
that good off.
Yeah, and I think you saw, like when Brooks was playing in those few games, you saw they wanted to get Brooks in a good amount. They wanted to have a pretty nice shareable snap count overall. And I don't think that's – I think they're going to try that with Dowdle and ETN to kind of make up for Brooks' absence.
Yeah.
But when you talk about Hubbard, he's the engine of the offense. I think if he goes down, Dowdle can probably do a solid job. But, again, Hubbard's the engine. He goes down, you got some questions to answer. How does this offense function without Chuba Hubbard? If it functions fine, then you start having, then Panther fans will be like, oh, whoa, did we cut Chuba Hubbard? Did we trade him? Yada, yada. I would just say this, Panther fans can come up with the most galaxy brain stuff on the planet, and it drives me insane. But this is what happens when you
lose. To be fair.
Yeah. And that's what it's been like for the last 7 years, is that you'll see some of the weirdest takes from Panther fans. Like, I would even say Panther fans are one of the more interesting fan bases amongst NFL fan bases in this league. So let's just say they're desperate for wins.
If you're deep enough in the weeds, every fan base is the most delusional fan base.
Yeah.
Now,
Panthers Twitter is something else. It really is.
I think we've hit a weird spot with running back value too, where I feel like it's almost harder to find guys who see the field well and see the blocking schemes well. And when you have a guy who does, you want to hold on to him, because there are teams who are trying to take the committee approach, but they can't find guys who can see the field well. It's like, sure, they're fast or powerful, but they're not maximizing our run blocking.
I feel like a good to decent running back can take a contender to like an actual contender. But what we've been seeing for the past 5 to 6 years is our teams that are holding on or paying running backs, when without that running back, they're absolutely not competing. And the running back makes them compete, but it doesn't put them in that next level. Like you take Saquon off the Eagles, and they're still competing for a Super Bowl. I'm not saying whether or not they win, I don't know. But you take Derrick Henry off the Ravens. Do they have this season? They have maybe. I mean, Lamar's 2-time, should have been 3-time maybe. But yeah, we're seeing teams on the front end.
Saquon off the Giants, they're no longer a potential playoff team ever.
Exactly. So it's a really weird spot, because if you're a 10 to 12 win football team, does an elite running back put you over the edge? I don't think so. You have to be a 13 to 14 win team, kind of like the Giants were built, for a running back to make it worth it. But then who pays running backs? Because the money's got to go somewhere. Somebody's got to pay them.
Yeah.
I feel like the only type of running backs you truly need to pay are guys that can affect the game in all facets.
I'm of the belief that they should just all put it in a fund and just give it to Adrian Peterson, because he was so underpaid for his entire career.
That's
Yeah. for sure.
But-
Put it in the Andrew Peterson fund for making our youth so fun.
Yeah. And you know what? It would be nice to have separate funds for different positions. That would be nice.
Yeah.
Like quarterbacks get an infinite amount of money, but then
Arian Foster
capped
talked about
everywhere else.
it recently. Notorious undrafted free agent, couple all pros, and he was talking about making a cap and a floor for each position, to where you essentially know what you can and can't get paid. Because he was talking about, he made all pro still on his rookie contract as an undrafted guy, and he was like, I'm making $350,000 a year as an undrafted guy. I haven't signed that next contract yet. He was like, at what point are you even motivated to like go out there the next day when you're making that much, looking around the league? Like, if the next snap I break my leg, I literally cut my future, my family's future, my great grandkids' future in half, because I've shown my worth, I've proven my worth, but I stepped wrong, my leg snapped in half.
Yeah.
And
before, just to kind of move this along, because I am eager to get to the offensive line. Offensive line is
let's get
kind
to
of my heart and soul.
I love offensive line talk, and this is the type of line you want to talk about.
Yeah.
So I like this line.
I love the run blocking unit they have set up here. I really think they have some difference makers between, like, Robert Hunt has been one of my favorite run blockers in the league for a few years now. Damian Lewis can be a difference maker. And in the last few years, it's like every time I watch Ike Ekwano's tape, it's like, okay, there's suspect stuff with the pass pro. I get that. I think it did improve last year, but the run blocking was like, he is a difference-making run blocker in my eyes, and that there is real value there. But Jared, how are you feeling about this offensive line across the board, the depth, and the starting lineup?
So basically, Carolina brings back most of their offensive line from last year. Like, I would say the starting five from last year, from week 1 of last year, is back for likely week 1 this year. But there's a competition at center with Cade Mays and Austin Corbett. Cade Mays came in and had some good tape out there. So now you got 2 quality centers competing for the starting job. And I think that's a good thing for Carolina, because you got the depth now. If Corbett doesn't win the starting job, he's the type of player that's like, oh my God, he's not the type of player that will be like, oh my God, I got to request a trade. I can't do this here. Like, he will play guard. He'll play center. He'll play either guard spot. He'll play center if he's asked to, as a backup too. And Brady Christensen can play all 5 spots along the offensive line. Josh Nijam is a solid depth piece at right tackle.
Really strong swing.
Savala is and Savala is very solid as a depth piece, as a serviceable player on the depth chart overall. Haven't done much on Ja'Trey Carter, but
I can tell you about Ja'Tyre Carter. He was a Bears draft pick.
Tell me a little bit.
He's got some nice feet. Decent, like a good athlete. He played basketball out of high school, had some D1 basketball offers. But he's a major project, or at least 2 years ago when the Bears let him walk, it was like there's a lot of growth to happen there. You're betting on athletic upside more than anything. Really quick, powerful hands, but it's just he's still learning a lot of how to play the game when he left the Bears, and it was kind of he needed to figure it out by then for him to stick around.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be good for Carter going to an offensive line like Carolina, where he doesn't have to play immediately. And also, he's with a great offensive line coach in Joe Gilbert, who turned this offensive line into a great unit last year. Ekwonu, I think, is deserving of a contract extension. He's going to get paid soon, whether it's this offseason or next offseason. Damian Lewis and Robert Hunt were 2 of the best signings of all free agency last year. And then you got Taylor Moton, who's entering the final year of his contract. That's the interesting piece of the offensive line in terms of long-term aspects. What will Carolina do with Taylor Moton? Because they're going to likely end up eating most of the money he's got right now. I think his cap number is like $31+ million. It's a big number. And there were rumors whether he was going to get restructured, whether he was going to get traded, whether the Panthers should have drafted his successor. I think them not drafting offensive tackle shows they want to get something done with Moton, but also they trust the depth that they have at right tackle with Nijam. So I think they show their comfortability levels with their depth and their overall group on the offensive line. I wish they would have added more talent overall in the trenches just to add more competition. But it's hard not to be excited with this offensive line. It's a good group. It's the anchor of this roster. And I've talked to so many people about the Panthers' improvements on the defensive line. And I'm talking a lot of teams, you need to build from within, from inside out. Always have to do it. You don't start at quarterback. You don't start at wide receiver. You don't start at corner. You don't start at safety. You start in the trenches where it gets ugly. Offensive line, defensive line. The Panthers went out and got themselves a better defensive line. On top of that, they get Derek Brown back. On top of that, they have a good offensive line from last year.
I missed it earlier in the podcast, but Derek Brown's, when he's on the field, he's an absolute game changer.
He is. And that's what makes me confident in Carolina's ability to improve by 3 or 4 wins next year. Because both sides of the ball in the trenches have improved. And when that happens, you're going to see success on both sides of the ball. I truly believe that.
I'm always a believer that the trenches set your floor and the skill positions set your ceiling, right? Skill positions and quarterback set your ceiling. The trenches set your floor. Right. And you can have really strong skill positions, but if your floor is still low and quarterback, but if your floor is still that low, it's still that low. That's how you become the Bengals last year, right? That's how you just can't win football games without the trenches.
Yeah, have all the best receivers in the world and don't matter.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
do you got anything else too?
No, I mean that covers it for me. I just like to get Jared's final thoughts,
final thoughts
for the year.
All right.
And, if he's a betting man, what bets?
Yeah, we're looking at a 6.5 win total here. We're looking at making the playoffs at plus 235. We're looking at winning the division at plus 390, and we're looking at 100-1 to win the Super Bowl. So if you're a betting man and you're looking at these odds, what are you liking? What are you not liking?
Full disclosure, I don't bet.
Perfect.
But I will say this, a little tidbit. 2003, the Carolina Panthers started the season against the Jacksonville Jaguars in Week 1.
Jake Delhomme.
Jake Delhomme's debut. They won Week 1. They get to the Super Bowl in 2003.
They lose.
2015.
I've never seen a Super Bowl.
Anyways, I'm sorry, man.
It's okay. I'll just sit over
here. 2015. They play the Jaguars in Jacksonville, Week 1. They beat Jacksonville. They go on to play in the Super Bowl in 2015.
Cam Newton.
Yep.
MVP.
10 years later.
Lose.
Week 1. They play at Jacksonville.
Bryce Young MVP. Are you saying Bryce Young MVP? Because we don't have those odds up.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
Can you bring up the odds for Bryce Young MVP?
Let's see.
I'm just saying, if you want to get bold, if you want to get spicy, if you want to be like, I'm so down for the year of Bryce Young. plus 10,000.
I believe in
Don't
this.
do that.
I
Don't
believe
do
in this
that.
kid.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
I believe in this kid. Hold on.
150 to 1 on DraftKings for Bryce Young.
Okay.
MVP.
We're taking Bryce Young MVP right now as we speak. let me pull it up.
$1 gets you $150. I mean,
Listen,
Yeah.
man, if the
What does
Panthers got to the
150
Super Bowl
What
this
does
year,
$100 get you?
if the Panthers
We're about
got to the
to
Super
find
Bowl
out.
this year, I might be unbearable for the next couple years.
Oh, we're
But,
not taking Panthers to go to the Super Bowl. We're just taking
no,
Bryce Young
no.
MVP.
But
It's his time.
all jokes aside, I think the Panthers are in a good position to greatly improve their win total. I think they'll be competing for the division. They'll be competing for the NFC South by the end of the year.
I think you're in a good
Bryce
spot
Young
if you're a Panthers
becomes.
fan.
Yeah, I think Bryce Young becomes a top 10 quarterback in this league this year with the weapons he has.
Top
Defense
10?
improves. Yeah, I think he's that type of caliber player.
I see him 12 to 15, but top 10's good.
I think he can progress into a top 5 quarterback.
Top 5.
I'll be
The
that
thing
bold.
I'd
I think
say-
he's got that potential.
the thing
But
I'd
I'll
say
If he
with
has a
Bryce,
career similar to Matthew Stafford, where he's just among some of the better quarterbacks
He
in the
doesn't
league
have
for
Stafford
years,
arm talent, though.
no, but if he has the sort of play over the next decade of where he's basically Matt Stafford,
Yeah.
who's one of the better quarterbacks in the league, I'd take that all day.
He
Absolutely.
doesn't think Matthew Stafford's very good.
I don't. I love Matt
You?
Stafford.
Oh, it's
love
Jared
Matt.
Goff you hate. He hates Jared Goff.
I'm fine with Goff. I just don't think he's anything that. He's fine.
I agree with you.
But
Hey,
One thing that-
we're being
One-
nice here.
something
We're
that
getting
really,
spicy.
really impressed me with Bryce Young's tape this year was like, and coming out of college, I was concerned about his
Oh.
vision. You know, the way that he saw
Okay.
stuff as it comes open and attacks it. He seemed hesitant a lot to me, and that led to a lot of, you know, him having to scramble, him having to escape, and I just wasn't sure how that'd work in the NFL. His first year, I think he did struggle with some of that. And I think coaching aspects led to some struggles too, and some of that stuff. And by the end of last year, I felt like I was seeing the same style of play that I saw at Alabama, but with a quicker processor. And if that continues to go that way, I think he can become a pretty good passer. It's just the question
agree.
of how quickly that continues to show itself.
And I think what helps with Bryce is that it's similar to what Tua has done, where we've seen some of the camera views of like the helmet cameras where we're seeing him process the field, but we can't see. For us normal people, we can't process that quickly.
Yeah.
Bryce Young has insane processing ability. And I think his football IQ, his knowledge of the play and the structure of the play, what different coverages they could be going up against, all these different factors, I think allow him to have the processing, the anticipation, and the IQ to be a terrific quarterback in this league. And what I mean by terrific, I'm not saying Pat Mahomes level. I'm more saying one of the 10 best quarterbacks in the league.
If
Exceeding
Bryce-
that Tua Purdy level, like getting
Yeah.
beyond that.
I think he's going to be better than Tua and Purdy.
Ooh, that's MVP conversation.
He'll be in the MVP conversation a couple
Hey,
times.
do you know who wins $2,000 if he wins the MVP?
Ooh,
This guy.
Steve, check your phone. This guy
did
Yep.
you really make a Bryce Young
Yep.
MVP bet?
just now.
$25 to win 2,000.
Oh, wow!
Just now, you convinced me, brother.
Man,
I'm on board.
I respect that. You're going to have a lot of new Panther fans following you.
All right.
Hey,
Well,
like our YouTube, we got what is it, X these days? It's not even Twitter nowadays. We're so old. We outgrew Twitter, but yeah, come hang out. We're a lot of fun during the season.
yeah.
We do a lot of crazy stuff.
But just two crazy wild guys.
Yeah, we'll be together, and the state of Pennsylvania for week 1. We're going to have college football. We're going to have NFL. Who knows what we might get into then?
But Jared, can you tell everyone where they can find your work one more time before we let you go?
Yeah, man. So, guys, you can find me over at X/Twitter. You can find me on Blue Sky and Threads. All those sites at JRod NFL Draft. You can also find most of my Panthers work at Panthers Wire with USA Today, SMG. Then you can find my other content with Chiefs, Rams, and Jaguars over at On SI for those websites. So make sure you guys go check that out. I got some film reviews coming out over the next several days, next couple weeks for all those sites. So make sure you guys keep an eye out for it.
I got high hopes for these Panthers.
Fingers crossed, man.
Bryce Young got the arm talent. I'm excited to see it. Thank you so much for coming, though. Well, we can never thank anybody enough for coming on and talking ball with us. We love these previews. So again, thank you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And keep up with us throughout the season. We like to do a little banter on the X. So come hang out
for sure.
Yeah,
I got you.
All right. Well, thank you, Jared, and have a great evening.
Of course.
And when you knock us down on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off. And then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing. And when you knock us down on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off. And then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap. Before long, we're going to be the last